All right, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome into Valley News Now. I'm Devin Fry. It's time to step into the great outdoors with Doug Leier from North Dakota Game and Fish. Doug, I think I have to change this soon, right?
Well, the nice thing is the weather we've had, the grass is still green.
That's true.
There's
I have that going for me.
It is kind of strange to get to this part of October and have such, green grass. I've seen monarch butterflies. It really still looks kind of like September. So I think you're okay for a little bit.
For now, I got a couple weeks here.
Yeah.
Our friends are about to leave, though, right?
Yeah, that's a great segue.
Yeah, look at that. I'm a pro.
Because so the migration does get triggered by the shortening of days specifically. I mean, so that's why you have migrations in Texas and Canada, because it's not just simply weather.
Right.
If it was just all weather, then nothing would ever leave Texas. So it's the shortening of the day length that triggers the migration. And we've had some geese, some ducks that have moved out, the resident ones, and then a lot of hunters are anxiously awaiting some cooler weather to help kind of jumpstart the migration from Canada, northern North Dakota, into central and southern North Dakota. So the migration is slowly happening.
Okay.
So some of these birds are gone, but they've been filled in with some of the other birds. But cross your fingers, it's happening, it's coming, coming.
I actually thought up until this very second that it was a weather thing, was the migrations, but that makes a ton of sense.
Well,
with the day shortening.
And the thing about it is, when we talk about migration, and it is really timely, because typically by the time we get to the backside of October, there's a lot of birds from Canada that have moved into North Dakota.
Right.
So there is a weather component. It's not just one thing. It's not just simply the shortening of the days that triggers the migration. When you get a cold snap, when you get snow in northern Canada, it covers up their food source. They have no choice but to move. When the temperatures get cold, we get a cold snap in the middle of September and everything freezes up, the local birds move out. So even though the days aren't as short, it's why it's so fascinating to look at the outdoors, because there's very seldom is there just one kind of trigger, one kind of mechanism.
Right.
And that's what we're seeing, and that's what really kind of makes hunting so unique, because you're not only dealing with the weather conditions, you're dealing with the animals and their behavior, and on top of that, you put snow over their food source. And what are we gonna do? We go someplace else and find something to eat. So for the duck and the goose hunters in central and southern North Dakota, a lot of the hunters are thinking the best is yet to come. Mm-hmm. They're probably right.
Okay.
The minute the weather really does start to move into more snowy, cold type stuff, you better be ready to go, because it may not last real long.
See, you learned something today. Tell me in the comments if you knew all that about
That's what we're here
migrations,
for.
and I'll call you a liar. Speaking of migrations, it looks like there's going to be
trolling, man, trolling.
That's half of what I do in this new role of mine. That's barely even a joke. So, a cool thing that you showed me, you guys some potential for a pretty cool visitor here with an endangered bird possibly migrating through North Dakota here, in the whooping crane.
Yeah,
if I'm saying that right.
Yeah, well, and you can't say it wrong.
Okay,
fair enough. You can say whooping, you can say hooping, you can say just a huge, beautiful, magnificent white bird. And these are one of the most endangered birds in North America. You see that, they're just absolutely just spectacular.
Wow.
Large, white, black wingtips. If you think you've seen a whole bunch of whooping cranes, you're probably wrong, because there's only about 600. They typically may migrate in groups of like flocks of 3 to 5. They start off in Wood Buffalo National Wildlife Refuge in northern Canada. They move on down to Aransas Refuge down in southern Texas, and they migrate through North Dakota.
Okay.
It's something that maybe we just don't quite appreciate, is realizing that one of the most endangered birds on Earth is going to be migrating through North Dakota. Now, we don't want people going out intentionally looking for whooping cranes.
Right.
That's not the point. The point is to draw awareness and to realize that we have some really, really unique, special habitat that whooping cranes find mostly in central North Dakota. Once in a while, maybe to the edge of the Red River Valley. We get reports, though, sometimes from Minnesota. So, when it comes to wildlife and the way the jet stream and the way the winds and the way animals move, there's always a possibility. And when you're traveling, whether it's for football playoff games, whether it's for volleyball, you don't have to be a hunter. If you see these whooping cranes, we would ask that you try to jot down the location, whatever information that you can. The location, how many birds, where they're at, how long they were there. If you're close enough to them, most of them, they're going to have bands on their feet. And if you got like a spotting scope, so if you are out hunting and you see them walking around in a cornfield, put up a spotting scope. You can jot down the bands. It really helps biologists track the habitat and the locations that these birds use. A lot of times they're either with the sandhill cranes or kind of adjacent to the sandhill cranes. They sometimes can be mixed in. We've had sandhill crane hunters that are out legally hunting and go, whoa, that's not a gray bird, that's a big white bird. And we're really fortunate to be able to say we play host to the endangered whooping crane. And I haven't seen any reports as of right now, but that can change minute to minute, day to day. So it could be happening as we speak, because as we talked about earlier, with the migration, the shortening of the days, this would be about the time to start seeing those whooping cranes travel on through North Dakota, down into central South Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas, as they make their way down to Texas. I've never actually seen one in the wild.
Wow. Okay.
And and again, what we try to remind people is, don't go out and say, we're going to go looking for whooping cranes today. The last thing they need to do is to be disturbed. They get scared. They may end up going off the preferred route. So the best thing that we can do is just try to leave them alone. But if you do run into them and you can jot down some of that information, submit that, it would be a great assistance.
And you mentioned yourself, you haven't even,
no.
And if you haven't seen it in the wild, I don't even know if it exists.
They do. I'm not so sure. So I haven't seen Bigfoot either.
Well, I mean, we know he's out there, but
do we?
I do.
Okay.
With that being said, kind of how much do you rely on these kind of spottings from people to kind of report those in, so you guys can just have more of an idea of what these animals rely on?
It's absolutely huge, because when you think about North Dakota, just how vast the state of North Dakota is, and then you multiply that out from Canada to South Dakota. And like our entire game and fish department is about 170 employees, and that's talking, from not just game wardens and biologists, but to accountants and everybody within there. So we don't have enough staff. You can't go out there and try to find these. Now, there's a lot of technology that's available for researchers, but our best guess is often proven wrong. And we rely on the literally tens of thousands of whether they're hunters and hikers, whether they're just going for a Sunday drive, whatever you're doing outdoors, we can't ask enough. We talk sometimes about reporting poaching situations and anything going on outdoors. Your eyes, your ears are so valuable to us. We try to get the word out to school bus drivers, to anybody. Rural mail carriers.
Okay.
There's people that are driving the same routes, fuel truck drivers, semi drivers. We try to get that word out there because they're driving the same routes day after day, year after year. They get kind of used, like, whoa, never seen anything like that before. And that's really, really valuable to us.
My father-in-law's a trucker. I'll try to get him in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll make sure that he knows to.
He could probably tell us a story or two. You should get him on.
I don't think he's allowed to be on the air. Sorry, Mac.
Bigfoot
Sorry for you to learn like this.
Bigfoot sightings?
Yeah, we'll call it that.
Okay.
Fun fact about this is this might be incredibly boring for like 20 seconds. Fun fact about whooping cranes. When I was a kid, I had a not Humane Society, maybe Humane Society, but or a WWF maybe.
Yeah, World Wildlife Federation.
Yeah, not the wrestling one.
Yeah.
But
Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, I had a Hulk Hogan, but no, it was a clock, and every animal is a different endangered species, and I think noon was whooping cranes, and that I had that when I was like 4 years old. That's ingrained into my brain.
And it works.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing, a lot of times the Endangered Species Act gets kind of vilified a little bit, and the whole goal from the beginning, back in the 1970s, was to recognize what's the limiting factor. Why are bald eagles dying? Why don't we have that? And to try to determine, is there something that we can do? And the bald eagle is just a great example. The whooping crane, I believe at one time, I think in the wild they thought there was like 20 or so left.
Gosh.
And now they're up to 600. So the Endangered Species Act, while there are some situations where there's a lot of frustration and difficulty with it.
Where do you think that comes from? Sorry to interrupt.
No, and it's a fascinating discussion, because there are people and there are different philosophies that the Endangered Species Act, this gets to be pretty strong language, has been vilified, weaponized, is to utilize, if you can get a species declared endangered, well, there's a lot of limiting factors that go along with that. And if you can't hunt wolves, well, then the wolf population is going to grow, and they're going to, cause a mortality and loss in deer and maybe in moose. And as those populations go down, then the hunting is limited for those. So there's a lot of different avenues to explore on that. But again, when we go back to the core, the philosophy of when the Endangered Species Act was brought about, and the bald eagle is just a great example of what it was meant to do, is to recover a population, then remove that protection. You're not hunting bald eagles.
Yeah, no.
But they're not an endangered species where there isn't a limiting activities to the extent that there had been when they were an endangered species.
Fun fact, if you go to any of the fishing towns in Alaska, the bald eagles are like seagulls up there. They just hang out on the docks and steal your salmon.
Isn't that, you sound a little bit jaded.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Okay.
I don't have any.
But it's fascinating to me.
Yeah, no, well, I remember Homer, Alaska in particular, there's just like 10 bald eagles on like a light post in town, just because there's people pulling fish out every like 2 minutes. So it's a feeding ground for them.
Yeah.
So
no, absolutely.
Hearing them being endangered, I'm like, oh yeah, they're like pests.
Right.
But anyway, going back to what we were talking about with the whooping crane, the whole topic of reporting wildlife sightings.
Sure.
Kind of, what if you find something weird, something
Yeah.
peculiar, like or something even that's been killed? Kind of, what do you think is the best way to report that?
The best thing to do is actually, if you use the Game and Fish app, if you go on the
okay.
Game and Fish Department website, is to do it that way. And now we'll take phone calls, and we still rely on the old-fashioned method. The thing that technology has advanced so much in reporting these online, again, similar to the whooping crane, you stop, you take a picture, you put down the location of what you've seen, and then when you upload that, it goes to all the right people. Sometimes people are on vacation. Sometimes people are out working in the field, and they may not get a phone message ASAP. When those reports come in, it's distributed to the right biologists, the right disease, the right veterinarians, all the right people. And the other side of that is we can also make a determination, go, hey, we've had 3 other reports of this same situation, and it helps us kind of maybe go through a triage type of a determination as to how big of a situation this is. If somebody sees 1 dead deer, you can report that. It may have been poached. Somebody may have shot it illegally, and the game warden wants to know about it because he's had 3 different situations like this just down the road, around the hill, on the other side of the slough, and he's been waiting for this, and he shows up, and somebody dropped a cartridge, somebody dropped their driver's license or their wallet, and that kind of stuff happens. So there's so many different scenarios that can come into play of if you see something, say something. And if it's an ongoing poaching violation, contact your local sheriff's department. They can get in contact with the game warden. If it's something strange that you've seen in the wild, Bigfoot,
I will call you.
If you've seen some odd wildlife observations, I can't encourage you enough to upload it on the Game and Fish Department website, and then that gets put out to the right people, and then they can do the follow-up on investigations. So appreciate that.
That light just came on for anyone who may have seen my startled reaction there. I have an inside advantage there. I have your direct number, so if I see Bigfoot, I'm just going to send that to you directly.
I'd
so
love to be the
don't worry.
first.
Yeah,
I'd love to be the first.
Well, I'll probably put it on like our Facebook page or something first.
Sure,
and then
right, and then report it to Game
I'm not
and
going to
Fish.
get it confirmed first.
Yeah.
I'm just going to put it right online.
Yep. It's all about the clicks, man.
Big time of the year coming up now.
Yeah.
Deer gun season opens up soon. What should deer hunters be doing right now, this very second, as they're watching The Great Outdoors with Doug Leier?
If you drew a deer tag, go find it. Because if you drew a deer tag and you can't find it right now, there's a pretty good chance when the deer season opens on Friday, November 7th at 12 noon, you probably won't be able to find it then.
That's fair.
So right here and right now, one of the most important things to do is, hey, did you put in for the lottery? Oh, you did. Did you get lucky enough to draw a tag? You did. You remember it coming in the mail? It did. Where is it? Is it on top of the fridge? You can't blame your spouse for what happened. You can try.
I will.
But Game and Fish, we will not take any responsibility over that. But now is the time to go look for that deer. In all seriousness, because we run into situations where the season's opening that morning. Oh man, I got my gun, got my shells. Where's my deer tag? Where's my deer tag? And if you look for it right now and can't find it, and you contact the Game and Fish Department, there's a replacement process you can go through to get that deer tag replaced. But the way everything works, the better thing to do is to find it right now and then start that process if you can't find it. So yeah, and then a lot of the other things start doing is getting your orange together, making sure that you got your hunting plans, making sure that you're ready where you're going to go, and checking with the folks that you go deer hunting with, because November 7th, Friday, November 7th is coming in a hurry.
I promise, my fit has been ready since
That's right.
the end of last season. I've been ready to go. And that kind of goes back to, I'm sure a lot of the more I don't want to say fun aspects, because not saying that licensing isn't fun and exciting, but when obviously your gun's probably going to be ready. You're probably been getting ready for that for a while. Your outfit's ready. You're excited to get that on, but when it comes to maybe the license, it might have slipped the mind a little bit.
And that's what happens.
Yeah.
Is you're just thinking, okay, Ted's going to be there, Dave's going to be there. Okay, who's going to be there? Who's not going to? What are we going to eat? Where are we going to meet? How are we going to do this? And then you show up at the shelter belt by the rock pile on the other side of the slough, and you don't have your tag. Or the night before, Thursday night, you're getting it. Okay, I got my gun, I got my rifle, I got my Blaze Orange. Where's the tag? And on Thursday night or Friday morning, the season starts on Friday morning, November 7th at 12 noon. I've said that 3 times. I can't tell you enough. I'm not saying like leave work right now and go home and check it out, but you can. Devin looks like he gave you the.
I mean, keep watching us on Valley News now.
Yeah, there you go. Take us on mobile. But tonight, look for it.
Yeah.
Tomorrow morning, this weekend, sometime around, and if you can't find it, start making plans to get a replacement for your license.
I like that. I would not have thought about that. That's a very important reminder. Last thing for you here, Doug, before we get you out of here, thank you again for making the time for us. Great Outdoors with Doug Leier every Wednesday here on Valley News Now. Game and Fish Advisory Board meetings begin soon. What are these, and kind of what do people need to know about them as they continue?
Yeah, so the first advisory board meeting is to take place on next Tuesday in Buffalo. And what this is, Buffalo, North Dakota, not Buffalo. I mean, you can drive to Buffalo, Minnesota if you want, but we won't be there.
I was saying New York.
Yeah, Buffalo, New York. So I'll be specific. Buffalo, North Dakota.
Got it.
On Tuesday night.
No Bills games there that I know of.
That we know of. Josh Allen, he likes
He
the
might be
outdoors.
there.
He likes
He
the
might be
outdoors. So I'm not sure about their bye week.
I think it was last week.
Maybe he's a
on my
Carson Wentz
fantasy
friend.
team.
Maybe they're going to go hunting together.
Yeah, there you go.
We
Maybe.
can't say they're not.
We don't know.
We can't say they're not, but I can tell you that Game and Fish is going to be in Buffalo, North Dakota on Tuesday night. Then we've got 7 other meetings scattered all across the state of North Dakota, and this is an opportunity to meet up with other Game and Fish game wardens, our administration out of Bismarck, our director, Jeb Williams, deputy director, Casey Anderson, and Fisheries and Wildlife, all show up there, and it's 2 parts. So the first part of the meeting, it starts at 7 o'clock, is you got a question? You got a complaint, you got something that you've been always wondering about or thinking about, you can ask the experts. They're going to be there to take those questions face to face. And then the second part of the meeting, like after about an hour of an open Q&A, then the Game and Fish says, we've got topics, we've got issues, here's what we're working on, here's some of the things that Game and Fish is doing. We want your input. What do you think about this? And this is just a fantastic opportunity, an old-fashioned way. This isn't a Zoom meeting. This is not an email. This is in person in small town Buffalo, North Dakota, and there'll be 7 other meetings. The full slate of meetings is posted on the Game and Fish Department website, but I'd encourage folks, if they have ever said, gosh, I've always been wondering why Game and Fish does this. Well, you can ask the director, the deputy director, the administration, and you'll get the answer straight from the horse's mouth.
You're not going to have a better opportunity than that.
You really don't. And that's one of the great things about North Dakota is, we're not running and hiding. We'll go out there and we get into some conversations that may not be real comfortable for us, and that's our job, though. That's our job, is to work for the hunters, the anglers, the sportsmen and women in North Dakota, and we appreciate the opportunity to do that.
Gotcha. And Doug, I appreciate you making time for me here every Wednesday. Thank you again for joining us. We look forward to having you next week.
Sounds good.
And we're going to keep an eye out for whooping cranes and the Sasquatch.
You check the Sasquatch.
Possibly in the same place. We don't know if
we
they
can't
move
say
together.
They won't be.
They move with the sandhill cranes. Maybe they move with the Bigfoot.
We don't. We'll find out.
Stay tuned for next week. But anyway, thank you for joining us this week on this edition of The Great Outdoors with Doug Leier. Be sure to stay tuned with us here on Valley News Now. We have a lot more fun stuff coming up tonight, as well as our shows on Valley News Live all throughout the day. But for now, for Valley News Now, I'm Devin Fry.